mandatory topics.
So I started the broadcast for the Cobalt session now at 5:38. So let's add that to the notes. So let's add that. Cool.
Okay. And do it index. We are on now. Mandatory to do video indexing. You can also follow. You can see the way I'm doing also video indexing.
Who's doing video indexing?
Can learn. Use. I will leave on that because no one will do this.
Okay.
I don't know.
So I mean, I think another next step that's really important is training on session positions. I think that needs to be a topic. Let's add that to our internal team setup.
Yes, I think that is very important because when we have a section, we need people to understand taking the positions and helping on these other things. So we are on our mandatory topics priorities. Those are our mandatory priorities.
Where do we see the mandatory priorities?
Oh, I did not link that. I just opened directly. So I just made link there.
Oh, yeah, I'm in the notes, and I just made a section under mandatory priorities.
Mandatory priorities. Just here. After the agreement. Okay, down there. I can link down.
So let's review. Let's review the policies real quick. So the policies regarding mandatory priorities are as such. So first of all, you would have basically, hard stop / soft stop. So when we have a hard stop or slash stop or soft stop, you can only work on self-driven responsibilities. Does anyone know what a self-driven responsibility is? Can someone describe a self-driven responsibility?
The responsibilities which we can do by ourselves without any help of any person.
Yeah, you can do it by yourself at any time and on your own, right? And therefore, you need to have learned how to do the work. So that's always the goal, is to be assigned a self-driven responsibility with everything that you're doing, so that you know how to do it, and then you can just go do it on your own. You don't need to be at the sessions all the time. Although this is where we work together, we do training, and we teach each other and support each other. All right, so then the next is the mandatory priorities. So mandatory priorities are basically, we can only work on the mandatory priorities during sessions, but can also learn them and support each other. There are some mandatory priorities that you really should not be working on, so you should still be checking in and working as a team. So then the only other component would be like regular buddy team sessions. So the regular buddy team session, basically can work on any assigned responsibility. Does anyone want to talk about what an assigned responsibility is?
Assigned responsibilities are those responsibilities which are given to a specific person to perform those tasks and responsibilities.
Not exactly.
So
but pretty
selected
close.
responsibilities who have to done it.
Say again?
Selected responsibilities for a specific person.
It's more of like per team. So these are responsibilities that have been prioritized, and given to the team to focus on, right? So basically, instead of thinking about it per individual, think about it more like as the team, right? So if there are assigned responsibilities, it means it's been assigned to the global core team in general, and that we need to get the work done regardless of who the individual who's going to do it. It still needs to get done, right? So the key thing about assigned responsibilities is that we're all responsible for making sure they get done. Even if we assign someone, an individual, to do them, if they don't do it, it doesn't mean that it just doesn't need to get done. Does that make sense? I think that's one of the main things that we're missing as a team, is that everyone has this expectations that all that matter are the responsibilities that I was assigned and nobody else matters, which is completely the opposite. Right? It's completely opposite. We are all responsible for making sure all of the work gets done. If we don't, then we all get fired. We all lose out. We all lose the budget. It's like, that's how it works. It's not like we're all competing against each other. We're all here to support each other. Okay?
Yeah.
Cool. So right now we are currently not doing regular buddy team sessions. Not currently doing this because we are under mandatory priorities. The mandatory priorities have been set, and so we're going to go review the mandatory priorities, and so everyone needs to be focusing on them. But currently we don't have a hard stop or a soft stop, although we do have a proposal to do a hard stop or a soft stop that is going to be continuing to be voted on. So let's go ahead and review the mandatory priorities.
5 minutes on the topic.
Okay, cool. Are there any other questions about just regular assigned work versus mandatory priorities work versus self-driven responsibilities? Cool. And we do want to index this into planning doc, as well as the glossary, right? We need the glossary of terms. So our glossary of terms is really important for our training. All right, so let's take a look. So the number one mandatory priority is responsibility organizing. Every single responsibility needs to be organized. Does someone want to just do a quick sentence on why that's important and what it means? Responsibility organizing.
Organizing a simple responsibility.
Okay, but what is the number one step of organizing a responsibility? What does it actually mean?
A link or create a new doc.
A link to a doc with the information about how to accomplish the responsibility. Okay? So the key is that if you have a responsibility, the first thing that you want to create or the first thing that you want to get is the link. All right? Every single responsibility has a link. You click on the link and all the training videos, all the information, all the steps, all the guidelines, and the policies and the goals regarding that responsibility are linked from that link. Okay? If you don't have a link and your responsibility isn't clear, you don't know what it is, and it doesn't have a link, then that's a huge, huge problem, and you should ask for help and make sure everybody knows that the responsibility isn't clear and that there's not a link. And then we should make it, and that should be the number one thing that you do. Okay? So again, this is responsibly organizing on the responsibilities within the mandatory priorities. There's two responsibility organizing items that where you can do responsibility organizing, but that the actual responsibilities aren't the primary focus. And that's recruitment and the websites, okay? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So assistant work is working with me. So executive assistant, virtual assistant work. I mean, we kind of got rid of the bonus hours, but whatever, it's will be fine. Personal assistance. There's some of the medical insurance stuff that needs to get done. This is paid client. Ricola is no longer paid client at this point, but it's still work that could be done. Treasurer support and money organizing, very important. Okay. So this is basically working with Jay. Working with Jay. Very important. Any questions on the assistant work? Virtual assistant work. Does someone want to give a sentence of what this would entail and mean as far as like if you happen to be working on it, what that would be?
Which one, Jen?
Virtual assistant work.
A virtual assistant. I think all the work we are doing is under with virtual assistant.
No, people are really bad at virtual assistant work. I don't think people really understand what it means. We're going to be doing a lot more training on it.
Okay. 10 minutes on the topic.
Thank you. Okay, so this would be one of the positions, right? So this is a session position, you know, which is assistant work. And what it means is that you would be making sure that Jay is supported to be able to focus on the executive priorities. Oh, look, we have a check-in. Right, so we have a check-in here from Jessica, right? So Jessica is saying that she's not feeling well, that she can't make it. We would tell her like, thank you so much to check in. Take care. So when you check in, the first thing is it goes in the notes, right? So you go up to the top of the notes, whoever's doing the notes and the attendance, and you would put under check-ins. Check-ins, you would put Jessica. And so she would get the value and credit for checking in also under the attendance. And when we go to the actual attendance log, she would be checked in as attended because she checked in, right? Otherwise, if we were expecting her and she didn't show up and she never told us she was not going to show up, then we would mark her as absent and then she would get cut off the schedule, right? So checking in is very important, and we were very thankful for Jessica to do that. Otherwise, we don't know. People are MIA, and we don't know what's going on. Okay, back to mandatory priorities. So the assistant work is basically just making sure that the executive is supported with the executive priorities, and the assistant is helping with individual tasks and notes and other help, right? So this is not self-driven work. So self-driven work would be like the opposite of that, okay?
Yeah.
So we need to go over this a lot more because this is one of the main things that we've been lacking and not doing, like the virtual assistant work is definitely hasn't been happening. Okay, so let's move on to the individual, dual, and multi-buddy team responsibilities, okay?
Okay.
So the first one we're going to do is the Mo taxes, and this is going to be updated. This is paid client work. The 2017 taxes are done
3 minutes over the topic
for the verification. So we're going to say 2016 taxes verification. right? So this still needs to be done. This basically is done. 2017 tax extensions for nonprofit still needs to get done. Paid client, right? The 1099s is going to be part of the tax verification. Needs to be verified. Tax form verification for all active workers. So this is actually part of personnel support. Personnel support and onboarding, right? Onboarding is actually supposed to do the tax form verification for all the workers. Are there any questions about the mode taxes and the personnel support for the tax form verification?
Yeah, Jay Albina was downloading the more taxes for 2017. Does that mean there is still other for 2016?
No, the verification is with the IRS. So the IRS verification is separate. So the 2017 taxes, you know, we're going to need to verify that all CSVs for all accounts are downloaded and begin categorization. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah. Can you explain a bit about verifying with the IRS?
So this is this might be more of like of assistant work, but basically this is going to be phone calls to the IRS in Buddy Team, you know, with Jay. I mean, you don't technically need me to do it, but it might be easier for me to show us all how to do it first. It's because we've never done it before. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but
5
basically.
minutes over the topic.
Okay, so we need to do phone calls there. All right. Global budgets. I think that's pretty clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Global invoice tabulation. We're going to talk more about it in a little bit. Super team budgets. Also, let's just put the main Buddy Team proposals and online profiles. So this is basically all just like budget work, right? All super duper important. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll call it essential budget work. Has to happen. Okay. Any questions on all the budget work? We're going to go through the global invoice tabulation some more, but every super team needs a budget. Also, we would have the invoicing. Let's add the invoicing in here. So super team budgets, super team invoices. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So then we're going to go back to personnel support. So this would be essential personnel support. So we've got the tax forms, rankings, payroll setup and payments, global midweek check-ins. So let's do personnel support and worker coordination. So everything that has to do with personnel, all the midweek check-ins. Okay. Worker coordination, scheduling, all super important. Skype group communications update. I mean, I think this is pretty much done. Let me go ahead and make sure I don't lose these two. So we can get rid of that.
Main session prep support, I think that we are not bad in main session.
Sorry, say again.
I say main session preparation. I think the only people that they need training is especially Jello team. The rest of the members actually they know.
For what? For what?
Main session preparation and support.
So main session preparation and support would be preparing for like this session, for example. So I don't think anyone actually prepared for the session. So if we did that, we maybe be a little more organized, right? So, but main sessions are a priority still, and preparing for them and supporting the main sessions is very important. This would also include the lunar and planetary sessions. Okay.
We are 9 minutes over the topic.
All right, so we're almost done here. Policy keeping, organizing overall real-time policies, Plasmo, local SFA quantum team documentation systems, tagging documentations to correct folders, Stanford grant. Okay, so the only other 2 things that's based on management coordination, which is website planning, prioritization management, and ranking prioritization coordination, and making sure all that, the management coordination happens correctly. So overall, there's not, like, this isn't a ton of responsibilities, but these are like the most important things that we need to be able to do, and we need to be able to do them well, so that the organization runs reasonably smoothly. And we need another doc here. Someone could link a doc for future and other potential priorities. And we'd already added back in invoicing. So I want another doc here for future potential mandatory priorities that have not been assigned. So basically the way to think about this is that this is what is assigned. This is the work that needs to get done. This is what everyone's assigned to do. We want to get all of this done, right? And until all of this is done, we have a problem, right? And we shouldn't be working on anything else. And that's what the mandatory priorities are. So are there any other questions about, and there might be a couple other things that we missed off this list that we just need to add in. So let us know if we missed anything, but I think it covers everything, right, Lucy? Does this cover everything?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically nobody should be working on anything else. And I will note here, just to make, because it's so important, there's the HR board votes and voting forms. So let's go on to the next topic. And again, if you have any questions about what priorities that you're going to focus on and what responsibilities that you're going to be doing, you should be, bringing them up. But I think we're ready to move on. So number 3 here, let's just to finish this. We had individual and buddy team responsibilities. So this is like administrative and self-driven work and buddy teamwork, right? So it's like, and this is assigned, this would be assigned responsibilities. And then number 4 is management responsibilities. Does anyone understand the difference between a management responsibility and assigned responsibility of administrative self-driven work? Does anyone understand the difference?
Management responsibilities are management responsibilities are for the person, for the team, and individual responsibilities are those responsibilities which we have to do individually in buddy team sessions.
That's a good try. It's definitely not wrong, but there's another component of management responsibilities that's really important, which has to do with being a manager.
Management responsibilities for management teams And individual is for individual and body team is like assigned driven and assigned responsibilities.
So here's a good example. So one of the management coordination roles would be the mandatory responsibilities coordination. So someone needs to coordinate that all of the mandatory responsibilities are getting assigned and that people are doing the work, right? So when you do management coordination, you're not doing the work, right? What you're doing is, you're coordinating. You're doing worker coordination. So someone needs to create the spreadsheet with all the responsibilities and the verification of the responsibilities, that all of this is getting verified, that it's getting done and completed, and we know exactly what percentage is complete and what is not complete. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So another way of thinking about it is that managers do not do the work. They just assign and report back on whether work is getting done. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So
Yeah.
So the next question is, how do we deal with these tasks that need to get done? So we have two tasks here. Oh wait, here we go. Future potential mandatory priorities list. So this got done. This is good.
Yeah, I just created that.
Thank you, Lucy. Oh my goodness, I've been wanting that to be done for weeks now. Okay, so then we have this spreadsheet that needs to be created as well.
I'm just creating now. I'm creating that.
Cool. And so I also want to note here that creating spreadsheets and documents should be possible for anyone to do. So Lucy is one of our leadership in the organization. So it's like we need at some point to be getting other people to step up and make sure these things happen. Otherwise, it's like there's no reason for you to be here if you're not going to help do any of the work. So let's make sure. And then also whoever wants to help out with the position of task responsibility master, we'll go over this more, but every time there's a task, you would take the task and you would copy it, you would paste it up to our priority tasks so that we have all of our tasks documented and organized at the top. Okay, does that make sense? You do the same thing with all of the responsibilities too. So a lot of these are priority responsibilities that we went over with the mandatory responsibilities, and so we would be listing all those as responsibilities. Okay, so I think we're ready to move on now. Are there any other last questions about the mandatory priorities? And another task is that everyone should be signed up for mandatory priorities. So basically, if you want to be working at this point, if you're not signed up for mandatory priorities, it means that you're just not interested in working. Because this is what we're focusing on right now, is the mandatory priorities. So you should be able to sign up for the mandatory priorities directly on the doc here, or you could do it on the new spreadsheet here. So we have the spreadsheet with the responsibilities and verification, where we're going to be copying and pasting all of the mandatory priorities, and then people can sign up for them if they want to do it. So the next step here would be, when we talk about this again, we can actually go over the spreadsheet. We can review exactly what percentage of the mandatory priority has been completed, and we can know what the priorities are and what needs to get done. So this would be the mandatory priorities verifications and prioritization spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet would also be responsibility. Shoot. Mandatory priorities, verification, and prioritization spreadsheet. So you would have the priority here in column B. You would have, actually let's make that column C. And then here you'd have percentage complete. And then here you would have the rank. Oh my God, what happened? Cool, anyway, so we'll go over this and we'll get this all organized. Let's move on to the next topic. Lucy, do you want to get us moving to the next topic?
Okay. We are moving to the budget. I think the next topic is the budget. Are we starting with the global budget, Jay, or just before we move to the budget? Are we supposed to create the document here, index into a new doc for mandatory priorities, policies, information, and training?
Yeah, let's make a doc and index all this information. Mm-hmm.
So we are creating a doc?
Yeah, and then we're going to want to link this doc, right? Link this new doc to the mandatory priorities doc. And so the difference between the mandatory priorities doc lists all of our current mandatory priorities. And this is going to be training about, this is the training about the policies information about mandatory priorities. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then this would also be part of worker coordination. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
No,
Let's move to the budgets.
Yeah, thank you. And so I just explained how to do the priority tasks, right? So if someone could step up and do the priority task, like all you have to do is just copy the task, and then you come up here and you paste it up in the priority task, and you do the same with the responsibilities as well. Does everyone understand that?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, on budget, I'm just doing with indexing for that. So we are on budget.
Cool.
Budget is through HR board budget.
Yeah, so budget's primarily about the HR board vote and where we are now. Next step.
Let me look at the budget I linked there. Looking for the budget. Okay, it's the budget now. Okay, paste. Yes. There you go. There I put the budget.
It looks like you linked the budget doc.
Yeah. I linked the budget doc. I linked the whole thing.
So do we have the, I mean, if we want to focus on the HR board vote, we probably going to want the actual vote. And maybe
Can I
we should go
send
over the
the,
process. Like, do we have the link to the process doc as well?
process doc? Yes.
So let's go over what we want here. So you know, what we want the, you know, the link to the HR board vote and results, right? We want the link to the HR board process for voting forms, right? So, I mean, the budget doc is great and everything, but the budget doc is not exactly what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. I just linked the HR board doc, and inside the HR board, you have a voting system and processing.
All right, here we go. HR board doc. Perfect. Okay. So the first thing to note about the HR board doc, and this is, everybody needs to understand this. This is super duper duper important, right? What you can see here is you have a voting form, and it says link to editable form, and then you have link to the vote, right? So
Yeah.
it shouldn't be too complicated. And then underneath you would put, you know, link to results, or just write results and then link the results, right? So results.
Just check on this version, because there are two I have to specify. You don't use for Zillow, use for Steve, the one we have now, and with the results.
I don't understand. Do you want to say
5
again?
minutes on the topic.
When you open that, you see the version, two version. One is for Zillow and one for Stevie. I specify the one we use. You're using for Steve. Just go down.
Voting systems and processes. I'm not sure what that is, but we'll leave it for now. So first of all, this part, steps to initiate an HR proposal, is just, this is just not correct at all. We need to redo that. So if we go to
yeah, that is the right now.
If we go to Steve's processes, so the
one you open is not editable,
so
and the second is editable.
Okay, so the processes that we want to have clear here, there's a couple things. One is the HR board vote. One is vote and voting form, right? The other is like normal main session voting forms. And then there is I think there's one other process, but let's see here. What do we got? Google Drive. Google Drive encountered error. Error. So that wasn't particularly helpful. Let's try again. Okay, so this is the actual link to vote. So what this should say right here, this is a form. So again, the easiest way to organize this is, here's the vote. This is the date of the vote. And then here's the edible form link and the vote form. I mean, it should be very simple. It should be very clear, right? So this is HR board proposal from XXX date. And then we could say Steve did this one, right? So this would be link to vote. Link to vote. Boom. Copy, paste. Does that make sense? And then this would be the editable link. Typically, all forms are share only, so it's good. And then this would be the editable link here. Then we have HR board spreadsheet results. I'm assuming that it's the same vote, but we really don't know. But do you see how much clearer and explicitive like this is? Where all of this
Yeah.
is like really confusing, like right where this is just really clear. Here's the vote. Here's the date of the vote, and this is a budget proposal, right? So if you link to the vote,
Yes.
maybe it'll give us more information. So 151 April May budget, right? So we could say April May budget vote. Okay. So this is the link to vote proposal to cut bonuses. So it's a little confusing, but whatever, it's all in there. So then the next thing is if you go and you actually vote, required question. There shouldn't actually be any required questions, but that's fine. And see how it says submit another response? Right here it should say click to view results. Okay? So so this should basically be one of our policies. Policy is always set all voting forms to view results. Okay? So this is really important. So we still can't see the results. And you know, it's like, what are we supposed to do about it? So let's see if I can get it.
Topic.
Go to editable and you view. When you click editable, you can view.
What do you mean? You want to show me?
Yes, when you're in editable, you can view the results.
Okay. Do you want to show me?
Yeah, on editable version. I just go to editable version. Then view the response.
But go up to the settings though, because those responses are shouldn't be viewable
Then
to everybody. Like so if I go here and I click on the editable version, it should only be share only. Huh. It's really odd.
This is where I get the response and the vote. So I view on a spreadsheet on the results that you get.
Anyone who has a link can edit. Huh. Cool. Okay, well there you go. You can make forms editable by anyone. So you just click the edit button here and you say, after respondents can see the summary of charts and responses. Okay, and then you can also, usually we let people edit after, right? So you just save that. So if you do that, and then you click on the link to vote, I think there was the one, let's get rid of the, so I'm editing here, I can get rid of this. On this one, it says that it is required. Nothing needs to be required. So then that should be saved. Okay, so then what happens is you come in here. Let's refresh. Click submit.
That's still a required. Okay.
And you can see the previous responses. See?
Yes.
So this is how it's supposed to be set up. So I showed you the way you do that again is you just click on the editable form, editable link. And then you click on the settings of the form.
Give it a time still. Okay.
And then you would click on edit after submit and see summary charts and text responses. Okay?
Then you say,
so what this allows you to do is it allows you to very quickly and easily see the responses, right? And instead of having to deal with all the editing and all the other things, you can see the responses directly. Okay?
Okay.
And then you take this and you copy this and you put here results. And then you have the results like that. So then with this whole thing we can take and we can copy it to our notes for now. And we just go boom like that. And see how it's just very organized. It's very clear. Here's the HR board proposal votes for the April-May budget, the link to vote, the editable link, and it's actually editable for everybody with a link, so that's pretty cool. Typically, you wouldn't do that in like an important vote because then someone could change something. You have the results, and then you have the actual spreadsheet results, right? So this is the actual picture results, and then you also have the spreadsheet results, which typically give you a breakdown by every individual and exactly how they voted. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can actually see the votes. All right, so let's go into the results now. Are there any questions on how to set up the voting form and how to get the results of the voting forms?
No.
Before we go on? Cool. So this is super important because we technically should be doing voting forms.
Jay, I have a question. What
session.
happens if we have already spreadsheet like the one we have for if we win election that we always do? Because we usually have our spreadsheet. What should we do? Because we usually have the spreadsheet.
What's the question?
Are you going to create another spreadsheet again?
For
if
what?
you have an existing spreadsheet.
If there's an existing spreadsheet, it already exists. You can't create more than one. There's only one.
How can you get the result then? You just go direct to that spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So let's take a look at the results here. You can see the first one is cutting the bonus budget.
15 minutes on the topic.
So right here you can see you have 3, 6, and 4 yes votes. So 7, 8, 9s are all yeses. 4, 5, 6 are abstentions, and 1, 2, 3 would be no's. Right. So you have 4 plus 3 plus 3. So this would be 10 yes votes and 5 no votes. So you can tell that this proposal passes. Cutting the recruitment budget, try to increase. So this one, I'm a little surprised on this one passing. Basically, what this would mean, for example, for Mahidi and Kinat and Teresa and other people who are in recruitment budgets, they're basically saying we should cut everybody who's a new worker and increase existing team members' budgets. Luckily, they can't just automatically do that. It has to go through the HR board and other votes, but we can address that. So let's go through these one by one. So the proposal 1 is, well, actually, let's not do proposal 1. Let's just list them. So the first one is the cutting bonuses. So this passes 10 yes votes, 5 no votes, obviously not consensus. So that needs to be reviewed. And just so you guys know, our policy is we strive towards consensus and everything. So if there's not consensus, we want to try to figure out why and have discussion on it and see what happens from there. All right, next vote is cut the recruitment budget. Cut recruitment budget. So this would be 3, 6, 7, 8 to 3. So this is 8 yes votes, 3 no votes, not consensus. Okay, but it does generally passes. Generally passes. Okie dokie. That's the next one. So I don't need to do this by myself. Everyone could easily help with this.
Okay, the next one is
ranking lower cost. So this is the $2,600 budget for the 12 people. So what we have here is we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yes votes. So this is budget
9.
option 1. And this is HR ranking prioritized. So basically cost. Cost. And this would be 9 yes votes.
3 minutes over the topic.
2 no votes. So again, this is what we're paying people to do, is this work right here. This is called tabulating the votes. So could someone try to do something here? Do you guys just want me to do it all for you guys, or what? I mean, this is exactly what we would want people to do. Like, this is the work right here. You guys understand?
Yes, I'm trying. My machine is saying not connected when if I
Okay, that's
write
wonderful,
something.
Lucy. There's 5 of us here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. There's 6 of us here. So it's like, if you don't know how to do it, then ask a question. Otherwise, leave. It's like, come on, we're all here to do this together. Does anyone have a question on how to get to the results, how to tabulate the results? Otherwise, if you don't want to do it, just go. Leave. There's no need to be here if you don't want to do any work. I'm still not
Can you explain it one more time? Yeah.
So you don't have a question? Your question is just explain the whole thing again, over again?
Yeah, just once again.
The whole thing.
No, just these counting the votes.
Counting the votes. Okay, so the most important thing is a 7, 8, or 9 is equal to yes vote. Right? A 1, 2, or 3 is equal to no vote. And a 4, 5, or 6 is equal to abstain. Okay? So all we want to do is we want to count all the yes votes and count all the no votes. Lucy?
We have 11 for proposal 2.
All right, excellent. So this is budget option 2. And this would be the add in Andromeda. So I don't know. They're calling it experience and cost. I don't know. But whatever. So what about it? What about it being 11? 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yes, 11 yes.
And 3 no's. Oh wait, no. See, this one says 0.
Yeah.
Oh, these are zeros too. Interesting. Okay, so it's good to know that a 0 isn't technically a no vote. So
yeah.
So let's go backwards here. So cutting the bonuses just has 1. There is no 0 on there. So that was a mistake.
For the option 3, say proposal to include Andromeda budget will be to 2,600. Have a main body team is Steve Miguel Hoge plus Asif and Razu. Asif Razu Zilu. Main body team Albina Steve O. And main body team Lucy and Joseph. Proposal 2. Which we have like 0, 1 person, 1. We have 1 person voting 1 and 1 person also voting 2. And 2 people voting 5.
Okay,
and
so this is option number 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so option number 2, I see 8, 9, 10, 11 yes votes, and then 2 no votes,
Yes.
and then 0. We just skipped 0.
Okay.
So yes votes is 11 yes votes. And then we have 2 no votes.
And what about 5J?
What do you mean 5? This would be an abstain, 2 abstentions.
Abstain. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
I think we stop from there. Are we going to include the other thing or still? Oh no, we are still okay. Option 3. Cut everyone and start from scratch. 0. Add people, individual,
so you have 4,
or getting
5, 6, 7 no votes, right? So this is budget. Option 3 is cut everyone. And this is 1 yes vote and 7 no votes, right?
Yeah.
So 4, 5, 6, 7 no's, 1 yes. Cool. All right. So this is pretty clear. I think let's just stick with the actual budget proposals. So this is what we would call like the first round of voting, right? Or the first round of tabulation. So budget option 1's got 9 votes. Budget option 2 has 11 votes. Budget option 3 has 1 vote. Yes vote. Okay. So you can kind of see it. You can obviously straight off the bat, option number 3 is basically, pretty clearly not passing. Does everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, we could basically already ignore option number 3, but option number 1 and option number 2 are a little bit close together. I mean, 9, 11. I mean, it's not cut and dry. So we're gonna go into the next layer of voting here. So let's go through the layer. So the FQN community network voting process is very simple. Voting tabulation process. Basically, what it involves is we count all votes, right? And then we focus on what's called verification and I don't know what the right term is, but detailing. Basically the idea of getting more and more detailed. What's the right term? I don't know. There's a term that talk about like when your vote gets closer and closer and closer, that you're analyzing it in more detail. So we'll just say detailing for now. But the point is that you can infinitely get more and more details and more verification for the voting process, and that's what we're going to go through. So the easiest 3 ones are just like, the easiest is yes and no votes. That's what we just did. Does everyone understand that? So really quick overview, yes and no votes, easy, right? Number 2 is you're going to go through the official scoring. So official scoring is average of 0 to 9. Okay, so we're actually going to go into the spreadsheet. We're going to average the 0 to 9 votes. And then number 3 would be the actual HR rankings weighted votes. So weighted votes basically means that people ranked higher in the HR board have more power in the final vote. Obviously, with Heather, Peter, and other volunteers with the most power. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
So the final decision on this particular type of decision is made by people who don't get paid, but we take everybody's vote into consideration. All right, so let's do number 2. So the next set is the official scoring. This should be pretty simple. You would just open up the spreadsheet results. And you go to the bottom. I'm just going to go on line 22. Oh, this says view only.
It's view only.
Yeah, so that would be a problem. So let's see if we can change this to editable by anyone with a link. All right, so right now it's just view only, so we're gonna make it so everyone can edit it. Okay, so now you should be able to edit this as well. So in a official voting and like when it's like super duper important, we're worried about the public, if it's a public vote, we might not have it be editable by anyone, but we can always just make a quick copy. Sometimes it's good just to make a copy, and then boom, even if it is messed with, we have an automatic backup and copy, so that we can review any changes that were made. Plus, any changes will still be recorded based on it being a Google Doc. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to average, and it's just going to go ahead and automatically average all the votes across the board. So that you just pull it across, and then we are going to have all the averages. Okay, so let's start with the first one. So the first one's cutting the bonuses, right? So that's a 6.235 or 6.34. Right, so this would be in our notes. You go to cutting the bonuses. So we can see here that it had 10 yes votes, 5 no votes, but the actual score is a 6.23, let's just say 6.24. 6.24. So this technically averages down to a positive abstention. So the difference between 10 yes votes and 5 no votes is obvious that the 10 yes votes are, that there's more yes votes than no votes. So you would think that it would pass, but under our official voting policies, the proposal doesn't actually pass because it's a positive abstention, and it does not pass directly. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
So it needs to be reviewed. Okay, are there any questions about how to do this? So you guys ready to go to the next one? So again, we are in the HR board results spreadsheet. And now the next vote is the cutting the recruitment budget.
I'm opening.
And so for a proposal,
the budget is 6.2. 6.1, I mean 6.1.
Right, so this is a 6.1. Again, this averages down to a positive abstention. Right, so overall it does not pass directly, but also is not a no vote, right? So it's sort of like an abstention. So it could still happen. So basically the bottom line here is that you need a 6.5 for officially passing. Again, this isn't a pass. So you need a 7 to pass, a 7 or more. Okay. So this does this is basically, doesn't quite pass. But it's really close. Okay, so let's go on to our options for the budget.
Option 1
is 5.81 average.
Yes, 5.8, yeah.
5.8. So this would basically be a positive abstention as well. Positive abstention. This would round up to a positive abstention. And so it doesn't quite pass. All right, budget option number 2.
Let's see. 6.24. This is 6.235.
Cool. So 6.24.
I don't.
Again, this is going to be pretty much the same thing that it
with the cutting the bonuses.
Yeah. So it doesn't quite, it averages down to a positive abstention. So according to our policies, although option number 2 got more votes than option number 1, they both are basically positive abstentions and could still both be considered. So then let's look at option number 3 just for fun.
Number 3 is
26.3. So this is obviously a no and does not pass. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So are there any questions so far in the tabulation process?
Question is, so now this thing look like almost the same. What's next? Should not proving the same figure.
What?
Getting the bonuses and option 2, they're all the same. So
Hold on a second. I can't hear you. I'm having some problems. I'll be right back.
it's gonna be on the budget, and who is not going to be on the budget. So it is always very important to vote, Teresa.
No, it's not that part because I vote because I received an email from Steve.
Mm-hmm.
And I voted. But my question is, this survey happens like every month because for me it's the first time that I voted.
Okay.
We're supposed to be doing voting forms basically after every main session. That has a vote, right? So anytime there's a vote, we automatically do voting forms. Basically what that means is that anybody who doesn't show up for the session should still have a say on the decision that's made. Does that make sense? So that's our policy, that if you don't show up for the session, you obviously lose clout and you lose voice, but you still get a vote. I mean, you still get a say. So the point here is that yes, we have done voting forms before, but this one's very different. This is the first time that we have a contentious budget vote. And, you know, basically people's lives are at stake where people will be fired and cut out of the budget. And so it's the first time we haven't been able to get agreement on our budget before. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
So it although it is a, you know, we have done voting forms before, we've never had a vote this contentious and this close. And so we're going to continue to go through. I mean, obviously, we don't have a clear winner between the two budget options, except we do know it's either option 1 or option 2. Option 3 is obviously off the table, but it's still not clear which one is going to win yet. But we're going to figure that out soon here, okay?
Okay.
So did you get a chance to vote, or do you have a question, Teresa, about the voting?
No, I was asking because it was the first time that I received an email to vote, and I was asking if it is normal to happen often, how often it happens, because it was the first time. So
cool. Yeah, and eventually the goal is that everybody will be able to vote on every proposal, and not only just within the team, but publicly, and so that, you know, it's basically it's an open invitation to have a say in the future of the organization. Okay.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah.
Yeah, very important. Okay, cool. So let's go on to the next level of voting, which is going to be the verification. Okay, so now we're gonna do let's say 2.5. It's gonna be official scoring with verification. Okay.
Jay, can you share your screen because I cannot see?
Sorry. Okay. So we're gonna go on to the next level of verification, which we're gonna do the official scoring with verification. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So for me, the easiest way to do this is basically to duplicate. Wait, this is the view only one. Wait, no, I just need to refresh. Okay, so we're gonna go down to the bottom here, and we're gonna do a verification round. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna duplicate the official responses because we want to keep all the data of all of the votes, right? But then we're gonna go ahead and say this is verified results. Okay, so the verified results are gonna be different. So the first thing we're gonna see is that line 17 says A, right? Is A verifiable?
No, we don't know who is A.
Yeah, we don't know. We have no idea who A is. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete that line because not verified. If anyone objected to that, they could object. All right, so the next one is we're going to go to line 13 says Mexico. What is Mexico? Who is Mexico? Why would Mexico even be voting? Does anyone object to removing Mexico? And also this one's blank. So I would say 12 and 13 would both get removed.
But for example, even if there is a name, is a person from the community, right?
Yeah, but there's many layers of verification. So, you know, we can certainly verify someone, and the more you can get to the higher levels of verification, there's infinite levels of verification. Right now, we're just doing the most basic level of verification, which is that it's actually a person. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, like there's.
Yeah, you can also rub the Lameto one also. That is me. I was trying the first when I did not know.
Which one is you? Namento is you?
Yes.
Okay, so we have Lucy. So Lucy already voted. So when someone votes twice, so let's say Lucy had voted her name here. So this is Lucy the first time she voted, and then this is Lucy the second time she voted. So basically on our policies, we always take the second vote. So anytime you ever vote on any voting form, the second time you vote will be the one that counts. The first time will just be deleted. So the proposal is to delete Lucy's first vote, to delete the blank one, and to delete Mexico. Are there any objections?
Okay, no.
No. All right. Yeah. All right, so we're going to go ahead and delete all those. So then we have Miguel, we've got myself, we've got Jorge. Then here we have an abstain. So there's no way to verify an abstain. I would say that this would be removed as well. Does anyone have any objections to removing abstain? All right, so we're going to delete that.
No, we don't know who is abstain.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
we're gonna delete it. Consider deleted. All right, so then we have Asif Razu. We have Steve K. We've got Zilu. We have myself again, and we have Zilu again. So the first time that me and Zilu voted, we're gonna go ahead and delete both of those because those are obviously duplicates because Zilu voted again and I myself voted again. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and delete those two. Any objections to that? Okay, so what that leaves us now with is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 votes. So you can see here that now that we've gone through verification, went through verification, what we verified is we verified that these are actually only 10 people who have voted, right? That means that there could potentially be a lot of people who haven't voted, including people who are on the HR board, who it's very important that they vote, okay? So I would say overall, what we have determined through the verification, that enough people haven't voted to make a final decision to begin with, right? So the next question there, just even without looking at the results, would be who else needs to vote, and how do you actually verify and encourage people to vote? So this is a responsibility. And it's to remind.
I verify Joyce already cast the vote. I think she just used maybe she chose not to vote. She told me she already voted.
Who?
I follow up with everyone today.
Who did you say that voted?
Maybe people they don't choose. I think they are not willing maybe to vote.
Yeah, well, if someone doesn't want to vote, you can't force them to vote. But they still need to know that their vote has not been counted. Maybe they tried to vote and it didn't work, right? So that's why we actually have to follow up with people. So these are the most important people to vote, right? We have Heather. So Asif Razu voted, Jay, Lucy, Zilu, Eileen. Did Eileen vote? Eileen did not vote. Joseph did
Lynn
vote.
told me she already
Houdini.
voted. I sent her the right. I think she chose not to vote. I sent her the doc.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying is that it's our responsibility to make sure everybody who's supposed to be voting that they know that they haven't their vote has not been counted. Does that make sense? So it doesn't matter that you told her. We're going to tell her again because that's what we're paid to do. That's our process. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. All right. So and people are going to have whatever excuse to not vote. It's going to happen all the time. All right. So the top 10 people in the HR ranking should definitely be voting. It's also good to note here that the HR rankings still are not complete. Right? This is like really pathetic that we aren't able to complete our HR rankings. This needs to be done. I don't know why we're not able to do it. So then we also have Adam, Mel, Melinda, Steve, Monty, Mazi, right? So these are other people that need to be voting as well because they're on the jurisdictional ranking. Cool. All right. So is everyone on the same page with that?
Yes.
So
Yes.
is anyone going to help Lucy?
Or then if someone now choose not to vote, what else should we do? Like I do a follow up today with Aline. Even she told me she already voted. Maybe she choose not to vote. I don't know. So,
but there's no
we
reason
still
to know.
going
Like it doesn't matter.
what's that vote?
But what doesn't matter is why someone didn't vote. Our policy is that we send them a reminder to remind them to vote, period. It doesn't matter why they did or did not vote. All that we have to do by our policies is to notify people that their vote did not count. So it's not up to you, Lucy, to decide whether or not to notify someone based on your opinion of why they may or may not have voted. That doesn't matter. All that matters in the integrity of the vote is that we are required to remind somebody that their vote was not counted, right? And this is their last chance to vote. Whether or not they vote or not is not our problem, but we still have to let them know. You can't just not let them know just because you don't understand why they didn't vote. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So just
Can I also remind you the same likewise to Joyce?
yes, everybody can be reminded to vote in general, but my point here is that like there's different types, right? You know, general would be, you know, general reminder to everyone to vote, right? That's fine. But also specific is that you need to remind each and every person on the HR board that they need to vote. So if they're on the HR board, and let's just use this as like, you know, top 10 people from direct hourly rankings and top 10 from jurisdiction, okay? So it's just like, let's just get the reminders out there. So you would have Heather, there's one, right? I'm still not totally sure why this ranking is so different, you know, but either way, whatever. Myself, 2. Adam, 3. Mel, 4. Melinda, 5. Steve, 6. Monty, 7. Mazi, 8. Jason, 9. James, 10, right? So you could have like these 10 people could still vote on the HR board. Okay, so this is the jurisdiction.
Where can we get a mail? Heather mail. We don't have a mail for Heather.
And also, Julia is also going to be voting as well. Okay. Okay. And we just don't have her yet, but she's basically volunteering, so her vote's very important. So the first thing we need is the actual link to the voting form. Remember, there was all the chaos and confusion about what the correct voting form was. Right, we need to send out again, this is the correct voting form. Everyone needs to vote, okay?
Okay.
Then once we have that, we can send it to the official HR voting, right? So send to official HR Google group. So the reason why I didn't send it before is because actually I sent the wrong one to the HR board because it was confusing. and we didn't understand where the vote was supposed to be done. So now we can take the link to the vote, right? Because before we sent the wrong link, and this is also not the link to vote. The link to vote actually should be an actual link. Because sometimes when you put the full link, it doesn't actually work. So you click the send button. And then you get this little link button. I usually do the shortened URL so you know it's correct. And then I go ahead and just copy that there. So that's the actual shortened URL link, and then I'll just remove that, right? So then you know for sure that this is the correct link. And then I can easily just go in here and go here, and then let's say HR board, Google Groups, and this is the official voting form for budget vote. And link to budget vote. And what is this? Like the May, June budget vote? I don't know. Or no, April, May?
Yeah. April, May, yeah.
Cool. All right, so that is now done. See if it worked. Cool. Okay, so but if we don't have the correct vote link, then we can't send the vote link to the HR board so that they can vote on it and all that stuff. So, I mean, there's just compounding problem after compounding problem after compounding problem, which is why we get in the situation that we're in. So there's obviously a lot of people who still need to vote. Okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so let's go through and finish up this, this new voting. And you'll see here, let's just look at option 1 and option 2 is really the primary proposals. And you'll see here how you actually can see a little bit of a difference. When you do a verified vote and you actually take the verified votes, you can see here that option 2 has a 6.8 vote and option 3 has a 6.3 vote. So let's note that down in our notes here.
Okay.
So we'd say verified voting. So we do the option 1 was a 6.3, and the option 2 is a 6.8. Okay. Cool. So I think that's pretty much it on that. Are there any other questions about it? I mean, the only other thing that I could think about here would be the next level. So if you guys want to go to the next level, which is the HR board, this is the level 3 is the HR rankings weighted votes. With people who are ranked higher have more power, right? So I can show you how to do that real quick if you want me to. Otherwise, we're pretty much done. We can move on. You guys want to learn how to do the next level of weighted voting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the first thing to understand is that, I mean, obviously, with the jurisdictional voting, we have very few votes. Like Adam didn't vote, Mel didn't vote, Melinda didn't vote, Steve did vote, Monty didn't vote, Mozzie, I don't think he voted, Jason, James didn't vote. Okay, so we have plenty of votes in the jurisdictional ranking that didn't vote at all. All of these votes count as one vote, pretty much. Okay, so when you're in the jurisdictional ranking, your vote doesn't count more or less than anybody else. But when you're in the direct hourly ranking, your vote does count more. And you can see how much more your vote counts over here in column N. So for example, if you're a volunteer, your vote basically counts like Heather, Peter, eventually Julia, your vote would count as 25,000 votes, whereas Jason counts as 1 vote. So Jason gets 1 vote, whereas Heather gets 25,000 votes, right? Another example would be Julia, not Julia, because Julia's going to get a lot more votes, Miguel. So Miguel gets 2.4 votes, whereas Joseph gets 6.3 votes. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Why does
Yes.
Joseph get 6.3 votes, where Miguel only gets 2.4 votes? Well, the way we set it up in the structure is that Miguel's getting paid $10.25 an hour, whereas Joseph is only getting paid $3.98 an hour. So basically, the less that you're getting paid, the more power you have in the organization. Otherwise, the budget disappears and everyone takes the money because naturally we're all corrupt and everybody wants more money, right? That's kind of just the way things are. So the idea is that to protect the organization and the integrity of the organization, volunteers control the budget. The less money you get, you're a volunteer and you're not getting paid, you have less actual conflict of interest, and eventually the entire budget will be controlled by people who are not paid. Okay? And even within there, there's ways of breaking up the budget and making sure that there's balance of power. But until we have more volunteers who are voting on the HR board, we're just going to have to stick with our calculations, our weighted calculations. So it's very simple to just multiply these. So let's go ahead and do a new spreadsheet. So this would be weighted HR votes. So the first thing you would do is you would just go ahead and, well, let's just go ahead and copy the whole thing over. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate it to start with. So this would be the weighted HR votes. So we're just going to ignore proposal 1 and 2 just for simplicity, since it's only really applicable to proposal 2 and 3. So I'm just going to delete everything else and keep it really simple. So all we need is just the value of each person's vote. And then we're going to make a little line here. So Zelu. So we go into Zelu. We would find Zelu right here. Where's Zelu? Zelu is number 5. And his vote is worth 6.7. So we go to Zelu and we'd say 6.7. Steve K. Steve K's vote is worth.
Steve K is done.
Steve K.
Yes.
His vote is worth 1.3. Asif Razu, I believe, is the highest ranked person of all. His vote's worth 7.9. Jorge's vote, he's not listed there, but we'll do his as well. His is worth 1.9. Jay, my vote is pretty high. My vote is worth 7.2. Miguel is worth 2.4. Joseph is worth 6.3. Lucy, your vote is worth 6.9. Steve O's vote is 6.1. And Albina's. So again, this is the work that people could be helping with. I don't know why you guys just sat there and watched me do it all. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So then I would just copy and paste this over here. I'm multiplying the value of the vote times the vote itself. And then you get this new distribution of votes. And then we also do it for this one. So it's the value of the vote times the vote itself. Okay. And then we're just going to go ahead and average them. Okay, so what you see here is that it's extremely close. This is the most official vote of all. And you get 34.66. So we can put here, so with weighted HR direct voting, you have option 1 got 34.66 votes. Option 2 got 33.89. Okay, so I mean it's really close.
Very close.
Yeah, it's very, very close. And it's a difficult vote. So I mean the easiest thing to understand here is that it's just there's just not a clear decision that's made. We need more votes. We need really there's like we have 10 votes. Let's make a list of all the people who we still need voting from. So if we take the top 10 ranked people, so we still need votes from Heather,
From
Receive
Aline.
Brazil, J, Lucy, J, done. Receive Brazil, done. Zilu, done. Aline, Joseph, done. Shigimi, Albina voted, right? Stephen O voted. Okay.
Yes. Steve
So-
also voted.
Yeah, so we need Heather, Aline, and Shigimi from the first direct hour. Also, actually, there's a couple other ones. We also need Julia. Peter is also technically here, but you know he's not interested, but we'll still request him to vote. So then jurisdictional, we take the first 12 people. And that's going to be me. I already voted. Oh, so it's Adam, Mel, Melinda, Steve, K
Steve
already
already voted.
voted. Monty, Mazi,
no.
Jason, and
Mazi,
Shane.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing I can do to help move this along is get the link to the voting form. We also need to make sure this is linked correctly on the HR board doc, which is the most important place to link it.
Yeah.
So that would be this one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and send this out to the quantum team. So it needs to be just resent out to everybody. So Gelatin.
Yeah, I'll
Cobalt
resend
team,
it to
and
everybody.
team.
Okay, let's just resend it now. Other members that are not on jail on Cobalt. I think for Mazi, you can vote.
Sorry, Lucy. Say that again.
I'm sending you the link to vote.
Okay.
And then You can just open the link on our Today Doc or HR on our Cobalt and can start voting anytime you feel like. The voting form is down there, Mazi, after the budget.
Okay, I'm checking.
After the budget, go to HR board budget proposal. This is where you can get the link and vote.
All right. So if everyone can make sure that the vote link is posted on your team Skype, that would be good.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it. So I think we're done here. So the only other thing that's important to note here is that this is a pretty important vote. There's a lot of details going on. It's the first time we've ever had to bring in the HR rankings weighted voting. But bottom line is that this all needs to be, create a doc to, document and verify this vote for the budget. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're organizing all the information about the budget and the verification of the vote. Additionally, I would mention that if we did the weighted voting and it came out the other direction, that option number 2 got most votes after verification, and option number 2 had the most votes after the normal voting. What would happen is that if we saw that option number 2 was actually gaining votes from the weighted voting, it would basically automatically be winning. Does that make sense? But the fact that it's not means that there's still more to be said here, that option 1 still has a place, and it's definitely could still be considered. Also, I'd like to note that, overall, the actual proposal is very poorly written and not well done. It's also very unclear because it doesn't even start with the voting. So everyone gets confused because they're voting on all this other stuff. And then it goes to the actual vote, right?
Yeah.
Then you have here proposal number 2 is much more organized and clear. So option number 1 isn't really organized or clear. Option number 2 also doesn't have the annual pay rate. But either way, I think overall it's reasonable. Like it still meets the basic criteria of official voting. So I think we're pretty good here. I think the last thing we could do is we could do a round of voting here and talk about the options and why we may think one way or another in terms of the voting. And then we could wrap up and check out or whatever we want to do, move on. So
I've done voting.
Good. So do we want to do a quick discussion and talk about it here, about the options? Or do you guys just want to move on?
Option 4.
Move on.
Well, we have this very, very close vote, right? So there's 2 voting options. We talked about tabulating the votes and adding them all up and creating it. But what we didn't talk about is we didn't actually talk about the proposals themselves. And the Cobalt team could actually make another vote. So far, the Andromeda teams voted in the Quantum team and the Quarter Moon team, but the Cobalt team has not voted. So we could vote and make an official Quantum team vote, on behalf of us. Does that make sense? And that actually does matter in the bigger scheme. So the Quantum team voting and saying this is the proposal we support actually is more important than when an individual votes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So do you guys want to do a quick vote, or do you guys want to just move on to the next topic or wrap up or whatever?
I don't know with them.
I don't know. For me, we can
Move on. For
yeah.
I think we should move on for wrap up.
Okay, so you guys want to just wrap up and check out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lucy, do you want to go ahead and do that?
Okay. Let's check out. Jay, are you going to remind Heather?
Uh-huh. And we just sent her an email too.
Okay. What about James?
But Heather is kind of like the last vote, you know? It's like if we can't decide, Heather basically makes the deciding vote. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. James, yeah, I can talk to James as well. McDonald. So, but the most important thing is like who's gonna follow up on all of this and make sure it's all dealt with. I mean, I just trained you guys on how to do the voting tabulation and everything during the votes. My expectation is that we do all this training, then nothing happens because that's what usually happens. So it's like you guys are all now trained to do this. You should just go ahead and just do it. You know what I mean? Like all of you guys know how to do it. You guys can take over this voting process and tabulate all the votes and announce the results, you know, when it's done. Or at least the final verification, and then we can announce the results after it's been triple checked or whatever. But all we have to do is just get, you know, we have, how many more people? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more people to vote. So we could get at least 5 or 6 of those 11 people voting. I think that'll be enough to make the final decision, you know?
So we are going to check on the responses, right? To see how many people so far voted.
Yep.
Okay. I'll do a follow-up.
Great.
Okay, let's check out.
Cool.
Teresa, can you check out?
It was an interesting meeting. For me, it was the first time asking for all about the budget and the votings for the budget. So for me, it's 6.5.
Negative?
It was a really good session, and I think that I was knowing about priorities that is really discussed with a very handful way. And I think that I will select I already selected some responsibilities and learned 2 responsibilities from these mandatory priorities. And I think in the next week, I should move forward with more responsibilities. And the session score was for me is 7.
Thank you. Annette?
It was a great session. First I learned about tabulation in session was at 7. I enjoyed a lot.
So we're not really covering what people's priorities are and what they're going to be working on and everything. So that's one of the mandatory questions. So we need to go back through and make sure that that is clear. But anyways, I'll start checking out here. I thought this session was okay. I feel like we didn't quite get done everything all the desired outcomes that we had. I also feel that we, kind of got bogged down in some of the voting tabulation, and a lot of this work should really just happen beforehand. So, in the future, anyone should be capable of just like looking at what the outcome to the vote is and getting it started, but no one did it. So it's like, I don't know how to figure out, to get people to take initiative and actually be proactive on the work that needs to get done. So from there, I'll give the session a 5.5. I'm going to be working on this budget issue, of course, and helping move forward the budget voting to get this all finalized. We've been working on it for way too long, and this needs to get done. I'll also be working on the payroll and moving forward everything with payroll, as well as the Stanford grant and lots of other priorities with the Z Collaborator and sponsorship program and digital storytellers, et cetera, et cetera. Lucy?
Yes. I'll give it 6. Since I really learned how to do tabulations, I can guarantee you I can tally all the results for elections. Since now I really understand how to come up with also different type of tallying the results. Check. I'll focus on making sure following up on people who did not vote, to make sure that they vote, and also to finalize on our results for the budget. Also payroll setup, I'll work on that.
Lucy, can we go back through everyone and make sure that we get what people are working on?
Can I check out?
Oh, Mazi, oh, sorry. You forget Mazi.
It's okay. Yeah, guys, session was great, and I will rate it 7.5. And the tabulation was great, and learned a lot from that. And thank you, Jay, for your support. Check.
Okay. What are you going to focus on?
Yeah, I'm going to focus on recruitment commission and scheduling of my team.
Cool. And basically just to be direct and upfront with what I'm looking for, it's like, as the recruitment commission, you just shouldn't be here unless you're scheduled and working with other recruitment commission workers. Like you should know who else is on the schedule, who's working, be checking with each other. You should be, setting up sessions together, and then you work together on the recruitment commission, or you get permission from someone else. Like no one in the recruitment commission should just show up randomly by themselves wanting to work. That's just unacceptable. Does that make sense? Like where you're a team, you're working together as a team, you schedule with your team, and you come to work with your team, not by yourself. Like that's the way that the recruitment commission needs to start functioning. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So that's kind of like what I would encourage, like people in the recruitment commission, if you don't come prepared and scheduled with your team, and I don't care when you're scheduled for, you got to just schedule either new moons, full moons, dynamic session, whenever. You just need to schedule with your team and get focused on the recruitment. Otherwise, you shouldn't be working.
Yeah, Jay, got it.
Okay, Teresa, can you tell us what are you going to focus on for this week?
For the next week?
Yeah.
I will revise some of my responsibilities that I had because I think Jay changed one of them that I have, and I will focus on the organizing training that I need to continue to focus on. And I will start one of my responsibilities, which is the Skype group communications update. If it still continues as a mandatory priority, I think it is there. And I can start doing that next week.
Any other priority?
For next week, let me see here, is the responsibility organizing and the Skype group communications update.
Well, so Skype group communications updates, I don't believe is a mandatory priority anymore. Mainly, we want to make sure that everyone's documents are getting put in the correct folder, including yours and everyone else's. So, especially for new recruits who are making documents. So, I mean, I would say that one of your top priorities is really, working to choose additional mandatory priorities, or to, take some time off, either way. But the point is that maybe you and Kinyat and other people who need help with that should work together and support each other to figure that out,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then ask lots of questions. Because
Okay.
I think Kinyat's in a similar position to you where you guys need to choose. Like, it's not enough to just say that you're organizing your training and that you're going to review responsibilities. It's not clear. There's no specifics there at all, right? You need specific responsibilities that you're working on and that you're getting training on, support on. Otherwise, we just, like, how am I supposed to help you? How's Lucy supposed to help you if we don't even know what it is you want to work on? Cool.
Okay.
Nihedi?
Yes.
Let us know what you're going to focus on.
Yeah, I selected some responsibilities like a global invoice regulation, and last week I learned Octant and global midweek check-ins, and I want to know about main session preparation and support.
So one of the check-ins would be in relationship to, so there's two types of midweek check-ins. One's the global midweek check-in, and the other is the Octant midweek check-in. So for the Octant midweek check-in, which is for us is Cobalt, we do our main sessions on Wednesdays, right? Well, let's say Wednesday/Thursday, because Thursday for some people. So therefore, on I believe it's Saturdays, right? Saturday, Sunday is when we're supposed to be doing our midweek check-in. So that gives us Thursday, Friday, to get some work done. Then Saturday, Sunday, we do our midweek check-in on how we're progressing throughout the week for the work that we're trying to achieve, right? I mean, a week goes by real quick. So the midweek check-in happens right away, and it's either the work's getting done or it's not getting done. Because basically by the midweek check, if nothing's getting done, it means the probability of something getting done before the week is over and we get back to Wednesday is low. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you want to help out with that, that would be great.
Yes, I can help it, and I understand everything of checking midweek.
Yeah, and this is part of what's called worker.
I think even Teresa doing good on midweek check.
Great. And then once we get it really good for the Octant, then we can help with the global midweek check-in as well. But let's focus on the Octant midweek check first so that we get that all set up. And then the global invoice tabulation, you need to talk with and schedule with Joyce, okay? Because she's the one who knows how to do that, and she can train you. But we can also prioritize it within next week's session and do more training on it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kainat.
Maybe she left.
She's gone. Okay, cool. All right, I think we're done. Great job, everybody. This is it looks like we have a plan for the next couple days at least.
Oh, we have our first, second quarter moon. Is it 8 a.m. UTC?
You mean the 8th moon?
Yeah, 8th moon.
Okay, well, yeah, just send out reminders, let people know about it. And yeah, I'm probably, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it, but just remind everybody, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, Jay, one thing
Teresa,
more.
maybe if you can make it is good, and even if you can also start doing your octane midweek check with the head, that will be okay.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah. It's gonna be at 8 a.m. UTC. I'll send a reminder again now.
Yeah, and just also just remember that, like, Lucy's a co-chair, Zilu's a co-chair. Like, if the co-chairs request something of you, it's like whatever the co-chair says goes. So if they need you at the 8th moon session or whatever, just like they're there and they need support and they should be supported however they need. The other thing is that if you get assigned a self-driven responsibility, you can do it whenever you want to, not just during Cobalt sessions. Okay.
Okay.
Mazi, you were gonna ask something?
Yeah, I was saying that can you add me to the Cobalt group, Skype group, because sometimes people skip for posting in the recruitment commission, so we miss the updates about that.
We don't really use the Cobalt a lot. I mean, we just posted the actual information for today, but we just need to get better at posting things into the various groups, right? Like the Jello. I mean, it's just Jello, recruitment, and quantum, right? So there's technically 3 subgroups to Cobalt. Actually 4 if you include the New World HR group. But what we should do is we should have an email group. All of our groups need email groups as well. So there's so many communication things that we haven't done. But for now, I just want to leave everything the way it is based on the policies. And just we just need to make sure that things that need to go to the recruitment commission, will go to the recruitment commission. So is there anything particular that you wanted to get in the recruitment commission?
No,
Skype?
I just want to get updates about the global sessions and all that.
But that's the whole point, is that the recruitment commission should be self-functioning. Does that make sense? So you're saying that like the recruitment commission needs to schedule for the different sessions, and then people should be posting on the recruitment commission in general. Like, let's make sure Zilu is on it. He's the one who typically does the reminders. So let's see if Zilu is on the recruitment commission.
Sometimes he do.
Yeah, so Zilu is on the recruitment commission, so he should be doing reminders. So let's just send Zilu a reminder. So Zilu, please remember to update the recruitment commission Skype group with global session reminders. So then from there, it's really just a matter of scheduling, though. Like, it doesn't matter if the recruitment commission is reminded. If no one shows up or no one's scheduled to do the work, it doesn't make any sense. Does that make sense? Do you understand?
Yeah, Jay, I understand.
So, I mean, right now, my proposal on the table is that the recruitment commission should just stop working completely. Like, it's not doing anything. Like, the recruitment commission hasn't accomplished a single goal in like over a month. It barely even meets. It's not meeting in the global sessions. It doesn't have a schedule. I mean, it's not even meeting the basic minimum criteria for a super team. Like, we've never had a super team so poorly organized as the recruitment commission. Like, at this point, it's like it shouldn't exist. We should just cut it do a new recruitment for the recruitment commission, get new people who want to really step up, and then bring it back on board, with both the existing people and the new people. Because right now it's just not doing the basic minimal things. I think part of that is because Asif is gone and he has his wedding and he's got all his things going on, and that he didn't really train or get anyone stepping up to replace him, which is his mistake, right? I mean, he should have left the recruitment commission in good standing, as opposed to leaving and creating a power vacuum, and that, not having leadership and not getting organized. So, let's just keep prioritizing it. Ask lots and lots and lots of questions, like, as long as people are just silent on the recruit commission and nobody says anything, nobody puts in any effort and actually does anything, it's like, then that just tells me no one wants to do anything, So otherwise, just ask lots and lots of questions. We're all here to help, but if no one steps up to do it, it's like we have plenty of other things to focus on,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, a good place to start could be, message to the recruitment commission. Hey, does anyone want to schedule for the 8th moon session to work on a recruitment buddy team? Or, hey, this Sunday is the full moon session. Does anyone in the recruitment commission want to schedule to work during the full moon session on the recruitment? It's like, I mean, we're not talking rocket science here. It's just like communication, request, schedule, attend, done.
Yeah, Jay, I hope we will improve everything.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Cool. But overall, this was a good step in the right direction. Let's just keep seeing how things evolve. But nothing at this point is guaranteed. We don't even know what the budget's going to look like yet. So it's a lot. A lot.
Yeah, we have a lot. We hope we'll finalize on this.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
To finalize.
I'm going to get going here, but I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Jay, are you going to be available for executive session?
Well, I need a break for now, but maybe like for Sonic a little later. Yeah, just Skype me.
Okay, thank you.
All right.